monsters with 1400 or less
My
attack.
head hurts like
This card
hell.
must be face up on the field to activate and to resolve this effect. Now, come on, what are you doing? What are you doing?
What? What am I doing?
What are you doing? What's going on here? What's going on?
You tell me.
You just showed me something that said, "Oh, we can't play our precious creature cards," and it got restricted. And now you show me this.
Yeah, and
Destroy them. So they cast something into this, it just gets destroyed. Well, I mean, by that logic, isn't this worse?
you tell us.
I mean, okay, there were a lot of 1400 or less creatures that you showed me, but there's also some that have like death effects. Like they go search for stuff. Maybe you'd even want to play, in your deck, you'd want to play those cheaper things with death effects, right? Because then you still get the effect. But maybe the opponent runs those too.
I'm realizing about how people analyze cards for Yu-Gi-Oh! That they're doing wrong.
Not all decks do that.
So now that we have videos of CGB analyzing cards, the thing is, you could be CGB or you could be Jesse Cotton, and you could still fall for these mistakes when it comes to analyzing cards in any card game, really. I think more important than anything when it comes to analyzing how good a card is to first analyze how easy it is
I guess it could get smashed
to actually play it.
So does this, okay. The previous trap
its limitations, its costs,
it
its
restricts a lot of different
restrictions,
type of strategies
and all
that
that
just
shit.
put multiple types of
Like
monsters
the recent
together,
Pot of
which
Greed is
probably
banned.
something that overall
Yes,
you
it
want.
draws
You don't
cards,
want
but
deck
like,
building so restricted that you can only have one
how
type of
come
monster
this
that
card
can be.
isn't banned?
On
How
the
come
other
this
hand,
card is
this
fucking
card
at
says
3
play bigger monsters.
and nobody
Play
gives
bigger
a shit
monsters.
about
Yeah,
it
just play
at
bigger
all?
Just
Well,
play
I mean,
bigger
a lot of
monsters.
people give a
That's how
shit
you
about
solve
it.
Either play something that
So anyone who's
a
played
monster
Malice
or a
knows
bigger monster. That's gotta
it's
be
really
way
hard
more
to
common
draw
than
to
removing
with
a trap
Chassis
card.
Cat.
If there's something
And
card
that's
games
the true
seem
kicker
to
there.
encouraging you to play bigger monsters somehow. Is there an opportunity to like play your 1400
I
or
think.
less destroyed, but use it to tribute summon before it dies?
The way you're describing, I'm gonna say no. You can set monsters with 1400 or less attack face down still, and they won't get destroyed because the game doesn't recognize its attack stat yet. So you can set monsters, but anything that is being summoned will immediately just get destroyed.
Well, I guess that's another angle too, is that it's not even like they're stuck in your hand. You can still play them face down. So let's talk about combat again. If I have 2 face down monsters and you attack me with this thing, like when do I flip them face up? Do I have to flip them face up? What do I do when I'm being attacked? Okay.
So if you have 2 face down monsters, let's say I have King Tiger on my team. I would go to battle phase. I have agency over what to attack, so I would pick which of your 2. It would flip up. If there's a flip effect, that would activate. If not, it just flips up. I would see what your defense stat is, and we would check to see which is higher. If my attack is higher, your monster goes to the graveyard. If your defense is higher than my attack, your monster stays, and I'll take a little bit of damage.
See, I still don't understand combat very well. I'm just mostly looking at where busted value comes from most of the time.
Think of when they're in defense position, they're like a wall. It's like the monster's just attacking into a wall. And so if the wall is big enough, it will hurt them. You take damage from it like getting hurt. But if you're bigger than the wall will get destroyed.
All things considered in combat, you usually won't lose your attacker unless something else goes on with an effect.
Correct. So either you would have to attack into a monster that has an effect that would destroy your monster for some reason or another, or if you're purposefully attacking into a monster with a higher attack stat, then it would destroy the monster if it's in attack position.
Oh, that's pretty funny. If there are multiple face down things and you're trying to attack one and get to flip face up so you can destroy it, but you hit the wrong thing.
That happens.
So yeah, is this card busted? Is this card restricted? So I've highlighted all the ways that it's different from Rivalry of Warlords, and it does kind of feel like a bait that you put it right after that card. I've got to be honest.
Okay.
If I had never had the conversation about Rivalry of Warlords, what would I have said about this? I'd have said this card is fine. It's totally fine. That just blow it up, kill it. Do something about it. Solve a problem. Don't try to play non-interactive nonsense combo piles and expect to get your way. Do something about it. And this is, I'm sure, the most common type that you can do something about. Also, it does, like thinking in Magic, there are cards that kind of have effects that are only on smaller creatures and not bigger ones, and vice versa. Cards that only affect bigger creatures and not smaller ones. It doesn't seem to me like that type of creature has ever been banned. There are even some really oppressive ones that stayed legal throughout their entire time in Standard. This is an Eternal format, which is always something I have to come back to. But even in Eternal formats, I don't see those kind of problems with cards like these. So I'm gonna goldfish memory. I never saw your Rivalry of Warlords. This card is not on a list. It is
it's funny, you talked yourself out of it. You talked yourself out of it.
Yeah, it's a perfectly fine card. It's a good card. You use it sometimes, but people can get around it. If it takes over meta, they can deal with it. Yeah, this card is fine and not banned or restricted. Final answer.
Boy, are you wrong on this one. This card is giga banned.
Jesus. Okay.
I'm just kidding. No, this card sucks.
What the hell was that?
King Tiger Wang Hu.
Why would you do that?
Just imagine. I need to keep you on your toes. I need to keep you on your toes. So, King Tiger Wang Hu, I don't want to say this card's bad. This card has infrequently made its way into anti-meta strategies at times, but that's like the best case application this card's really ever had. Maybe it had a home in side decks for like a very short period of time. This card's kind of just like whatever. One of the problems with this card is that it's reciprocal, so it blows up your own stuff. Which, you know, you could just play around it. Like, you could just not play small stuff, obviously, but that doesn't help this card in the slightest. It does affect both players. But it's like, especially like this is another older card. I tend to show you older cards because they're more fun. Older Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot of the good cards, yeah, there is some good stuff that has under 1400 attack, and there are some specific things that this could like counter in quotes, but a lot of good stuff has more than 1400 attack, and honestly, a lot of good stuff has more than 1700 attack as well. So aside from those like niche scenarios where this card could be like maybe good against one or two particular decks, maybe if you're playing, like I said, like a specific anti-meta strategy into a format that's playing a lot of small stuff, that's about it. Aside from that, this card is terrible and basically has never seen play.
Yeah, suck it, King Tiger Wang Hu.
As soon as your initial reaction, I thought I got you with it, but no, you reeled yourself back. You saved yourself from getting completely baited. So let's cool you off a bit.
That sequencing was vicious, dude. It was vicious. You are a vicious sequencer.
I appreciate it. That's a compliment.
You should see somebody about that. You should work on that.
Well, you should see your next card. I sent it to you 5 minutes ago.
It's a dinosaur.
We have dinosaurs in our game.
I love dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs are a type in our game.
It's a sad, dead dinosaur. That's not good. Okay, I hate it. All right, spell Cold Wave. Yep. Oh god, it's so sad. This card can only be activated at the start of main phase 1. Until your next turn, you and your opponent cannot play or set any spell or trap cards. Can only be activated at the start of main phase 1. So, do you play it face down? Or do you play it face up, but then you don't activate the effect till your next turn?
So this is
start of a main phase 1.
Yes, so main phase 1 is the main phase before your battle phase, before main phase 2, all that. The turn order is similar to Magic, so it's draw phase, standby phase, main phase 1, battle phase, main phase 2, end phase. So this card, if you have this and would like to play it, this has to be the very first card you play in your turn. Otherwise, you're not allowed to activate it that turn.
Okay, so it can basically activate the turn that you play it.
So when you
have
play
the opportunity to play it, like if you draw this on your first turn, you can put this down if you want to.
Correct, yes, but this has to be the very first card you play. You cannot take any other game actions. Otherwise, you are not allowed to play this card.
Which means you can't do shit.
I mean, yeah.
And your opponent can't do it. Why would that be good?
I don't know, CGB. You tell us.
I mean, obviously you're stalling, but you're spending a card to do it. The opponent's not spending anything. I assume they're just drawing and saying go. What could they do? You and your opponents can't play or set any spell or trap cards. Oh, they can still play monsters. So if you are a mostly critter deck, then you can still attack. You can still play critters and attack. So if you go up against like a control deck, and this is like some of the only spells in your deck, you play this and then you play some monsters. They can't cast anything to deal with it or draw any cards. If they don't have the right cards to match like what you're doing, then you just come back to your turn. Say you have another one. Oh, you play another one and you go smash, smash. And you're like, haha, cold wave, cold wave, cold wave. Get good, scrub. I win. How good is that? That seems pretty good. That seems pretty good.
Okay.
That seems okay. We've already been talking. Like people like to play their stuff. Is this toxic, or is this the bad guy card that beats the other bad guys because they're just playing all spells and not doing creature combat stuff, or they're trying to do combo stuff that relies on some kind of spell or trap?
Or is it
maybe? It's very rare. It's not impossible, but it's rare in Magic that sideboard type cards have gotten banned. But Rivalry of the Warlords is restricted. It was like you mentioned, it was a side deck card. I mean, this
for the most part, I would say some decks could main deck it, but I would say primarily in its most like abused types of situations, people would typically side decking it know that they were going to go first, going into games 2 or 3.
Yeah, this seems to follow that logic quite a bit. It's also oppressive in multiples. Probably worse than most cards you've shown me. When somebody does this for multiple turns in a row in the right situation, that has to be one of the worst feelings. That is a disgusting, horrible feeling. That is literally you don't play. And like those are the kind of grief stories, the bad beat stories that you tell your friend after a round that makes them hate you. They're just like, please shut up. I'm trying to keep positive. I'm trying to think of why this would be bad. Because nobody plays spell or trap cards? Unlikely. I'm sure in the universe of Yu-Gi-Oh! There have been plenty of decks that this thing can absolutely hose. And if you just run hot and have multiples, like as long as those decks are even in the meta, like every deck probably wants these in its side deck if they're a creature deck of some kind. So It's not like this would become somewhat ubiquitous and kind of keep those decks out of the game. And this is an eternal format. Having them out of the game forever, this screams to me as a restricted or banned card. So I'm going to go with that. I'm going to say that this is on a list. And yeah, that's final answer.
Correct, CGB. If you can believe it, Cold Wave is still banned to this very day, as a matter of fact.
Sure. Yeah, that's gross. That's horrible. Yeah. That's a horrible thing to have in a game.
It's interesting because it didn't start out that way. Cold Wave is a card that historically was a card that did not see a lot of play. I think it's a combination of people didn't necessarily value the effect, and also there wasn't the right decks to really take advantage of this card early on in Yu-Gi-Oh! As Yu-Gi-Oh! Started to print ridiculous boss monsters that had just insane effects that were essentially like board wipes built into effects. One of the first like real archetypes of Yu-Gi-Oh! Was really combat focused, and it was sort of a if this archetype got an attack in, the likelihood of it winning probably skyrocketed like 50%. That's when people look to Cold Wave to nullify the opponent from A, using any trap cards to stop their big play and basically take over the game. B, make it so that on their following turn, any of their spell cards are equally useless, because if they had any removal spells or any way to try to find a way to get out of the situation, those are turned off. And C, any further trap cards that they may have had in their hand that they were holding because they didn't want to, for one reason or another, maybe they didn't have to set them face down, could also not be set to essentially fight back. And ideally, Cold Wave, when this card gets activated, you're putting your opponent in like a check situation, right? If this card's activated, you better have a way to answer their play. Otherwise, you probably just lose the game immediately. So much so that this card eventually made its way onto the ban list and probably will be on the ban list for the remainder of the series.
So I have a complaint.
Okay.
Dinosaurs are creatures. They're monsters.
Okay.
Why are the dinosaurs frozen in the art, but the things you can't do are spell cards or trap cards?
So you have
How
a
does
flavor
that make
complaint.
any sense?
You have a flavor complaint. That's what you're saying. Got it.
Yes, I have a complaint about the current flavor. It seems like if it stopped anything, Cold Wave would stop monsters. Why do traps or spells care if it's cold?
You can write a formal letter of complaint to Konami. Okay. I'm sure they'll respond to you.
Yep. Okay. Yep. I'm getting out the notebook. We're writing it down. Go on.
Oh yeah, Dominus Impulse.
Hold on, I'm still writing my complaint.
Oh, sorry. Don't want to interrupt.
All right. Nightmare Wheel is a trap. Activate this card by targeting one monster your opponent controls. It cannot attack or change its battle position. When it leaves the field, destroy this card. During each of your standby phases, inflict 500 damage to your opponent. That monster must be on the field to activate and to resolve this effect. Ew.
What do you mean, ew? This is like right up your alley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, you lock down their thing. They're just losing life. But it's not that much life. It's like 1 or 2 life, right? By Magic standards.
Yeah, 1 or 2 by Magic standards.
Monster must be on the field. Okay. Activate by targeting one monster your opponent controls. This is interesting because, like, I haven't seen a trap that's just like, hey, flip face up, destroy a thing. Like, I imagine there are several. Those are probably the, like, meat and potatoes of the game. Removal spells. There's like a million removal spells in Magic that just, you pay this cost, you kill that thing. This one, basically that, with the problem that if it leaves the battlefield, I assume their monster goes back to kicking your ass. The little bit of burn on the side is probably useful, but there are cards in Magic that are like enchant their thing, it can't do anything, and they like lose 1 life. Although there aren't many. They actually haven't made many cards like that. But those that have existed haven't been great. Like they didn't break anything. They didn't get banned. Yeah, this seems fine. Let me read this again. It cannot attack or change its battle.
It does feel nice to be able to play the game.
It does nothing about that. Cards like auras
even better when Malice doesn't.
Magic like this don't cause any trouble. Right. Leaves the field, destroy this card. Don't think that matters. During standby phases, inflict 500 damage to opponent. Again, not a huge amount, just kind of a little extra for dealing with their thing. But the downside is they get rid of this and their monster goes back to beating your face. It doesn't even solve all the problems that a monster can offer. Doesn't solve everything. Kind of nerfs it for a little bit of burn. There might have been spots where you play this card. I think the only context I'm not sure about is how easy it is normally to remove opponent's stuff. Like if there are just a bunch of trap cards that say, destroy their thing, dead, all done. And if there are, and I'm guessing there are, this is probably just another way to deal with an opposing thing, which means that the trap is for me. This card, I think, this card is fine. This card might not even be very good, depending what other options there are to remove things. I'm guessing at some point, and maybe like in a burn deck, this is better than a typical removal spell because you get some damage in. But this card's fine, right? They didn't need to restrict this. They didn't need to ban this. There aren't people out there that scared of removal for their big Timmy dragons, right? Right? Yeah, this card it's not on a list. It's fine.
You are incorrect. I'm just kidding.
Really?
You're right. Yeah.
Why do you keep doing that?
Got him again. Yeah, you're right. This card is fine. I mean, arguably, you could say this card's kind of bad because, for the reason you said, this doesn't actually remove the threat. There are, like you said, I haven't really shown you many, but there are plenty of trap cards that might just be, let's say, 1-for-1 removal under the right circumstance. And Nightmare Wheel, yes, there is some, like, interesting utility, right? Like, maybe if you're playing a burn deck, you want to get the burn damage in, that could be relevant. Funny enough, if a monster is face down in defense position, you can actually target it with Nightmare Wheel so they can't flip it up, so that could maybe have some potential ramifications if it has like a flip effect potentially. That could potentially matter, but you can very easily remove your own monsters off the field. You can tribute that monster still, for instance, so that would be a way to get rid of the Nightmare Wheel. There's plenty of other summoning mechanics, like fusioning, we've seen that before. And overall, like, this is, like, probably a good, like, draft or, like, limited card, to be honest, but, like, that's probably, like, where it ends, to be honest. This card was never particularly fantastic.
Yep. Sounds good. Sounds like I'm, crushing it, is what it sounds like to me.
Yeah,
sounds like I'm on fire.
All right, speaking of being on fire, this is you in the middle of the artwork here.
Wait, more me in the art? What the hell? No, that's not me. No,
you said you're on fire.
I hate it. Okay. This is a lava golem, and it's a level 8, and it has some numbers that still don't mean much to me. And it says Fiend Effect. Cannot be normal, summoned, or set. Oh, yeah, here we go. Here we go with the special summoning stuff. Must first be special summoned from your hand to your opponent's field by tributing 2 monsters they control. This is already a better removal spell than the last one. You cannot normal summon set the turn you special summon this card. Once per turn during your standby phase, take 1,000 damage. Okay, but I mean, you're putting it on their side, right? So they are taking
the 1,000.
1,000 damage.
Correct.
Must be special summoned by tributing 2 monsters. Cannot be normal summoned or set the turn you special summon it. Okay, so it goes onto their field, and they cannot normal summon or set it. Well, I'm trying to figure out why that would matter.
Well, so you're giving them the lava golem. You are not allowed to normal summon or set the turn. So this basically counts as you normal summoning by giving them this card for that turn.
So it's your one... Well, it's an 8 cost. It's your 1 tribute summon for the turn?
It is a special summon. You are giving them a special summon, but the card's restriction is that you're not allowed to normal summon or set the turn you special summon this to their side of the field.
I don't even know how you do that. What? That sounds like we're making up things. Okay.
Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! Welcome to Yu-Gi-Oh! We make things up all the time.
I can't. I play this on your board. Now I can no longer play this. Obviously, it's not yours anymore. That makes no sense.
Well, you couldn't normal summon or set another monster for that turn. You can still special summon monsters during your turn, but you wouldn't be able to get your 1 normal summon.
You blew up 2 of their things. You don't just get to play another monster for free.
Well, you can still special summon things for free.
Which apparently is a thing that happens in the game. Okay. During your standby phase is actually their standby phase. So you pitch their 2 things. This enters. You might want to be careful how you attack. So maybe you do it after attack. I don't know. Again, combat is still iffy to me. But then on their turn, take 1,000. And then they have a 3,000 attacker. But they're down 2 monsters. And you're down special summon and your summon. Okay, this one, I don't understand what's going on here. I'm lost. What the hell is this card? I think I understand most of the words on it, but I'm still like trying to picture, because the cost, right? Everything's free, but the costs on this are, I think, bizarre. You do a certain amount of damage and you kill 2 things, but the opponent has this 3,000 attack thing. This might be where the stats actually do matter. Maybe it's really hard to attack into it. Maybe giving up your normal summon that turn actually matters, although I'm probably overthinking that. And you still have to deal with this. You get rid of 2 of their things, but you still have to deal with this.
Magic has nothing like this, out of curiosity.
This is really bizarre. I'm trying to... Is there anything that's like kill 2 of your things and they create this thing that you now have to deal with? There are a lot of cards that are like destroy 1 thing and they get like a generic 3/3 creature, for example.
Okay.
And those are popular in Commander and are barely played in 1v1 because any resource is good. But this is destroy 2 things and they get 1 chonker. So how good is that? How important is taking 1,000 damage? It's way more than 100.
That
it's way more than 500. Yeah, that's a bit of a bigger chunk. But it's like, this is still hitting for more than they're taking. So you still have to deal with this. You give them this, but you still have to deal with this. So if this card is good, it's probably because there's some way of getting it back.
Okay.
Like not letting them actually beat you down with this thing. Because if you have to deal with this like any other thing, it's probably not that good for you. Not as good as it could be. And that sounds like hoops. Hoops to jump through normally mean the card isn't as good as it looks. And this does have like a read it, like, ooh, that's gonna get him. And then when you die to it, you're like, how did I lose? I did the thing. How did I lose that game? Yeah, I smell hoops.
Okay.
And I don't trust hoops. But you've shown me a lot of lemons. How many lemons are you going to show me in one video? That would be unreal. That would be unreal for you to send me this many lemons. The thing is, I can't find, like, I can see this destroys their 2 big thingies. That's really, like, good for you. But you still have to attack through this, right? Like, you go to battle after you play this thing. They have this thing. You still have to go through it. So you would need a pretty big attacker to just kill it. And then you wouldn't get to deal them 1,000 damage. Maybe that's fine. Let me think. That's basically like using a card from your hand and a creature on your board to kill 2 things.
You're pretty stumped on this one, huh?
It is. This one's hard. This one's hard.
It's an interesting card, though. It's an interesting design.
It is. And the costs of it are all kind of hidden throughout. Like, you're giving up some tempo. You're giving up some phases. How important is it that you get that damage in? Does it even matter? It does seem like this card might be at its best when you play it, blow up their 2 awesome things, and then attack and kill this right away, which means that the take 1,000 damage line is just kind of a joke. but it also is like you're summoned for a turn, so that could cost you. This one's really hard for me. I do see hoops, and hoops to me say that is probably the card that was the problem. Although I've been wrong on that before. I don't know. I want to say hoops means this card is fine, and this is another bait, and you are just on a mission to catch me, and I'm not falling for it. This card isn't on a list. This card isn't on a list. This card might even be terrible. This card might see play there, but it's not great. It's not busted. This card is not busted.
Final answer?
Yeah, that's it. I solved it. I've got my hot streak going. I can't lose. This is perfect.
Let's talk about Lava Golem. So Lava Golem's had a very interesting trajectory throughout Yu-Gi-Oh! System. So initially when this card came out, it was, let's say,
sacrilegious,
the
I know.
hallmark or like cornerstone of burn decks. Because ideally, burn decks are already playing a lot of stall cards in them to slow the game down. And pretty much every stall card in the game can stop Lava Golem in some capacity from attacking. So ideally, if you tribute off to your opponent's monsters for this guy, it doesn't matter that it has 3,000 attack. If your opponent is just prisoned out of the game, essentially, they're going to lose. And so slowly over time, the Lava Golem will deal damage. Also, there are burn cards that, if you were to, say, attack with the Lava Golem into the burn player, they have a card that can just reflect all 3,000 damage back at the opponent. So sometimes hitting with the Lava Golem was actually bad for you, and you would just immediately
I think this is more than enough to still win the game for Malice.
So that was typically how Lava Golem was used historically. Over time, Yu-Gi-Oh! Evolved and started getting more and more powerful creatures, and a lot of these creatures fell into several different camps. They either fell into the category of they have abilities that can be used at instant speed to like interact with the opponent to like negate certain cards, or cards that might be so powerful that they have so many protection effects, like they might have protection from targeting, protection from destruction. Some cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! Just say unaffected by other card effects, if you can believe that. So literally nothing touches them. They are like the quintessential boss monster of a specific strategy. And Lava Golem, along with some other cards, actually fulfill this very unique role in that tributing an opponent's monster means that they don't really get any window of opportunity to interact with what you're doing. So if a card says unaffected by card effects, Lava Golem tributing away that monster doesn't actually interact with that because it's not a card effect that's interacting with it, it's a summoning mechanic. It would be like no different than if they tributed that monster off from one of their own monsters. So between that, as well as these cards that can interact during the opponent's turn, you know, negating your stuff, at the beginning of your turn, if your opponent has several of these giant guys out on the field, you can just hand them a Lava Golem on their side of the field, remove the threat, and yes, you still have to deal with this giant 3,000 attack point monster, but you made it squishier. You made it easier to deal with. You made it susceptible to spot removal. You made it actually killable or targetable, for instance, right? And these cards have actually grown in popularity. Lava Golem has actually seen play within the past couple years, as a matter of fact. It is still that popular of a card, if you can believe that. As such, it is not banned, hasn't been limited. Actually, just a really cool and well-aged card, a lot of people would say.
That is wild that it, like, I mean, that didn't occur to me that it solves that specific, like,
of course,
protection
and I
from
wouldn't
everything problem. That's kind of insane.
Yeah. Which is interesting because I think in Magic you have stuff that has like different protection effects, right? So
yeah.
So this is like one of our solutions to those types of effects that will eventually sometimes see play depending on the circumstances. But yeah, it's cool because this is a card from the anime as well, so people really love Lava Golem.
Okay, excellent. Dude, I'm cooking. I'm cooking, baby. The hardest one so far, and I crushed it.
Well, let's see. We got one left for you. I actually picked a newer card because given the blue mage that you are from Magic, I am, and I imagine many other people are curious to what you think about this card. Here's your final one for the day.
Oh boy. Witch's Strike is a trap card, and it says, if your opponent negates the normal or special summon of a monster or the activation of a card or effect, destroy all cards your opponent controls and in their hand? What? Destroy all cards your opponent controls and in their hand? So they have to drop their whole hand and their whole board gets blown up if they negate the normal or special summon of a monster, or the activation of a card or effect.
So, to put it in Magic terms, if you counter anything, they can activate Witch's Strike after that thing gets countered and destroy your whole board and your whole hand.
Oh my god! This is the worst card I've ever seen!
I've been holding out some good ones for you, buddy. I've been holding out on some good ones for you.
What am I supposed to do? I'm gonna have nightmares.
Yeah, you're that guy.
God.
You're that old guy in the artwork. That's you.
Dude, I can never play Yu-Gi-Oh! Everybody who plays me will play this card. Every one of them will show up with this card if it's legal. Wait, if it's legal. This card is banned. This card is banned. They want me in their game. They need me in their game. They would never. Okay. Hold on. If an opponent negates the normal or special summon, see, that's such specific wording. If they would negate it, how would they negate it? Is negating what would the word be? Is that like
it's like
a
countering
keyword?
in Magic? It's the equivalent of if there's like counter target spell. It would be that equivalent.
Are there cards exist that say negate target special summon or negate target normal summon?
Yes. So there are cards. I'll help you out with this for context. So there are cards that say negate the summon, negate the activation of a card. Like maybe it says negate the activation of a spell card, negate the activation of any card of a particular type, negate the activation, or excuse me, negate the summon, negate the special summon. Negate is our equivalent of counter.
Oh my God, hate me. And all of those like me. They hate us. They despise us.
Yeah, I made a terrible choice trying to fish for a draw too here.
Card. What a disgusting, terrible targeted card. They're trying to send a message. They're trying to hang us in the town square.
My audience is trying to send you a message, apparently.
Well, you know what? They can all get wrecked. Because, man, like, is this card? Obviously, it's kind of a side deck card, I think. The meta would have to be crazy to not have this in a sideboard.
Oh, you tell us.
It would have to be crazy. Like, you'd have to have so much of that type of deck. And it's a dead draw against other decks that aren't going to negate anything, who's not going to play that type of game. It's just a dead draw. You're down a card. Being down a card loses you games. I think that's more true in Yu-Gi-Oh! Than it even is in Magic, from what I can tell. So, like, right there, it's a niche card. Here's the thing. If you're in game design looking at whether or not to ban this card, you're like, obviously it was built for a reason. It has an intended target. It wants to stop a certain type of player from doing a certain type of thing that they don't like in the game. So why would they put this out there, then ban it? They're trying to keep people from playing Oops All Negate effects. And I think that makes sense because in an eternal format, if you want to keep printing our good ways to counter and deal with the opponent, eventually you just hit a critical mass where they can counter and deal with everything. So you want there to be repercussions. But can they negate this? Is this negatable? Can they, when you flip this over, can they do something? You tried to kill me. You tried to strike me down. But I have another trap card. Okay, that's kind of funny. Oh my God. I really am not sure. Why would they print this card? It's such a direct and targeted assault on something. We always have one more answer. It's dramatic, it's epic, it's absolutely shattering. But what if you have the answer to the answer, right? That's the kind of thing that it's built for. It's built for this. And that is what a Blue Mage is built for. We're built for this. You want to come at us with the ultimate strike, the Witch's Strike? I'll just counter that too. I always have another answer. This card seems bananas. It does seem bananas. In an eternal format forever, would this card go unrestricted? I think especially, as funny as it is, the games where they're like, all right, I negate that, and they're like, Witch's Strike, and they're like, I negate your Witch's Strike, and they're like, Witch's Strike again!
Doesn't say you can only use it once per turn.
Unless it's restricted. Wait a minute, let me read. Okay, these things stay on the field. That's how they're different from counterspells. If your opponent negates a normal special summon of a monster, monster or the activation of card like destroy all. Now I'm confused because if you flip this up and they try to like get rid of it, can they? Oh God, I'm so confused. I'm so confused.
So if something of yours would get negated, whether it's a summon or an activation, those cards would the stack would resolve. Those things go away. Then on a new stack or a new chain, as we call it, you would activate Witch's Strike because that condition was met. And then if they don't have the answer, they lose their whole board and their whole hand.
It's so brutal. It's so brutal. I mean, it's insanely brutal. God, I love that. I love cards that just go this hard, but I hate who it's after.
Because it's you.
Because it's me. And this card, I mean, this is a big card. You do realize, our relationship might be on the line. I may never play Yu-Gi-Oh! If this card isn't restricted or banned. I may never. I might just live in such fear of this Witch's Strike, I may never play this game.
I'm willing to take that risk.
I just think in an Eternal format, shutting down strategies forever with a card like this and having it go completely unrestricted, unbanned, sounds kind of wild. Honestly, it's so extreme. I think that if I say this card is fine, I'm doing myself a disservice. This card is so extreme, I think at some point it must have been restricted or banned. And I could see restricted.
Okay.
I really could, because I can see why this exists. I just can't see it available as a 3-of for the entirety of the game. So
and sometimes you have cards like these which are just impossible to correctly evaluate because Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just a stupid fucking game.
5 or 6 years. I think at some point people need a break of some kind. There has to be relief somewhere. It's just too brutal. So I'm gonna go with it was restricted or banned.
So there's nothing like this.
I should have just gotten rid of the Magnamut.
Way back in the day, there would be cards that would say destroy all white lands.
Okay.
And this really targeted, brutal kind of your deck is fucked. Cards. And they stopped making those a long time ago.
Well, clearly Yu-Gi-Oh! Didn't learn from that.
Right.
So banned or restricted for the Witch's Strike. Final answer.
Yes, final answer.
Ladies and gentlemen, we got it. Because CGB, Witch's Strike is...
I need to stop gambling.
Never been on the ban list, never been restricted. This card is legal at maximum copies, and this might blow your mind. It doesn't see play. It doesn't see play.
How old is it?
It's relatively new. It was printed in 2019, so it is 5 years old.
Okay, there's time.
I will say, it's not that this card hasn't seen any play whatsoever. People's reaction when they first saw this card, similar to the reaction you had, was identical. Everyone was like, this is the craziest card they have printed in the past 10 years. Right? Because when you just see destroy all cards your opponent controls and in their hand on top of it, that's just nuts. I will tell you, there are plenty of cards in Yu-Gi-Oh!, especially at the highest tiers of competitive play, negating summons or activations of cards is not uncommon. That happens all the time. Every deck can do that in some capacity. It is not uncommon in the slightest. So the stage was set. The groundwork was laid. Everything was there for this card to be crazy. You want to know why this card doesn't see much play? It's too slow. Yu-Gi-Oh! Is so fast that this card is not good enough. Let me give you an example as to why that is, okay? Let's say you go first. You do some stuff, you play some cards, and then you set Witch's Strike face down. In this scenario, unless you have something to, if your opponent has something to negate the activation or negate something, typically those types of effects are harbored in either really strong boss monsters that a deck might play or other trap cards, let's say. So if you go first, do your thing, set Witch's Strike. Your opponent starts doing their thing. They're not going to be activating a trap card during their turn because for the most part, most trap cards have to be set for a turn, right? So that basically takes all the trap cards out from being played. That's if they're playing trap cards at all, because trap cards inherently are quite slow compared to other cards because you have to wait a turn. They haven't gotten to their big boss monster type thing or their specific monster that negates specific cards or effects that you might play. right? You may as well just play another card that's going to do something to stop the opponent more proactively rather than waiting for them to negate something of yours reactively to be like, haha, gotcha, and hit them with the Witch's Strike. Now, again, it's not to say that it hasn't happened. Funny enough, you did mention the side deck. There have been instances where top players have side decked Witch's Strike against specific decks. Particularly, very funny enough, against your style of decks, very heavy control decks that play a lot of trap cards. Witch's Strike is like almost an auto win against these types of strategies if they do not have, which is another problem, another card to stop the Witch's Strike from activating in the first place, to negate the Witch's Strike itself. So, yeah, it's just a card that everyone got super hyped and excited over, and may have caught some people off guard every once in a while. I'm sure there's a handful of stories out there of bad beat stories of people just getting wrecked by this, but for the most part, this card has seen very little play, and honestly, it's, aside from like the super heavy control decks as like a side deck pick, I don't really think it's ever going to see much more than that. That's kind of like the best this card can do.
Wow. Y'all are haters.
Now, if you start playing Yu-Gi-Oh, I'm sure the this card will immediately start to rise in value as a result of that.
I'm gonna get Witches Struck so much. I might as well like just have like a tattoo of just how many times I get Witches Struck if I play Yu-Gi-Oh. God, I'm gonna be signing Witches Strikes. That's what's gonna happen.
Probably. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. But
hate it.
I'm glad we tripped you up with this one. This one I thought was the best for last, so that was good.
Oh, it was good.
You did pretty good, though. You got everything right except for like 2. So I mean, that's pretty good. You're learning. You're improving.
Yeah. It was a good day. That one's gonna leave a mark, and now I'm just scared. I'm just scared to even play your game. I'm terrified.
So guys, that's going to wrap it up for another video. I really hope you all enjoyed. Let's go ahead and shout the patrons for all of their continued support. So shoutouts to Shadow1317, Tim00x3, MPT Play Medolce, Moto, Cameron L. Smith, The Synchro Guy, Pony Stark, Dan the Man Hoban, Little Fade Leaf, Draconic, Dylan Rare Hunter, JW11860, Brian Dancer of Class 7, Flannel Daddy, Twinkle Muncher, literally all of the guinea pigs, Cheeks McLapperty, Stolfin Amethyst, MPT Cancel Bio Community soon, Cancel Bio Committee soon, Cancel Bio Players soon, Wonder Waffle, Main Phase 2 Synchro on that thing, Daniel Howell, Life Keeps Using Solemn Judgment on My Hopes and Dreams, and Naveed Mandavi. Thank you so much again for watching, and
Okay, teka.